Hello, and welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDOstream and youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live. I'm DDO's community manager, Kurt Oven. Thank you very much for joining us this week. You can find our full schedule on the Twitch page. Please give us a follow if you'd like to be notified for when we're going live with shows just like this one. Please give us a subscribe on YouTube, so you can get our playlists in your subscription feed. You can subscribe to individual shows, the whole shebang, whatever you want to do. We'd appreciate it. On tap this week, we are questing on Caneth. We're going to start with Druid's Deep and then do... So that's the plan here. Alright, so what level ranges do we have? Let me take a look. We got 15 and 9, 14, 15, 17, 15. So why don't we do hard? Hey, Kane Corin. Hey, Gilrandus. So we have got a 20%. Let me double check that just to make sure I'm not incorrect. I was just going to say a bonus, and then I was like, I hope that's right. Yes, plus 20% Heroic and Epic XP starts on Thursday, runs through the weekend, and remember, in the United States here, this is Labor Day, which is basically not a day where everyone's forced to do labor, but rather the opposite, where we get the day off. We get the day off on Monday, so that means you get another day of 20% Heroic and Epic XP, which... I assure you is just a coincidence that that happens on a day we all have off. Unless you don't have it off, in which case, sorry. Sucks to be you.
You are near to Druid's Deep. The dying Druid's riddle was the
I'm on a brand new rolled iconic.
A fish and a bear to find the way.
I'm a squishy little wizard, so someone else needs to take a lead here. Let's get with a fighter up front. So, let's see, what else could I mention? So we are on the edge of doing a whole bunch of guide work. I think by this weekend we should have our Caneth crafting guide all done and out. We thought it would give people something to read this weekend, perhaps. You know, if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can read about our upcoming changes to Caneth crafting. So that should be out tomorrow-ish? By the end of the week. And that'll be going on through the weekend here, so that's kind of nice. The other thing we're in the works is an Update 32 named item guide, similar to what we do for other named item guides, and that should be out, I'm thinking, next week. So you can look forward to that. The other thing I would mention is next Wednesday, same bat time and channel, we are going to do our Update 32 preview. So next Wednesday at noon Eastern, join me. We're going to get some of the devs in the room with me. We're going to do a Q&A, about a 45-minute to an hour-long preview of Update 32. Spoiler light, we're not going to show off any end bosses or things like that. Oh no! I have died. Hey, Slendrin, sorry I couldn't get you in the group. It just... filled up, so. So, next week, stay tuned for that. And, of course, we are still on track for September 13th to be our release day. Actually, giving ourselves a little bit of time to roll everything out. See how that works. Right now, as of yesterday, we have a brand new preview on Lamania. This preview is not our final build. We are going to be doing some more work before we go live, but this is a good polished preview from what you saw previously on Lamania. So if you only saw, let's say, the first preview or something of that nature, We have got a lot more kind of polish and stuff in this build on update 32 on Lamania. So if you're a guide writer, if you're trying to, dig into Caneth crafting or do some of that systems kind of investigation work, you're in a much better position to accurately do so now because it's just got a lot more polish on it. It's a much later build. And that went live yesterday. I'm not sure how long we're going to leave it up. Through the week? I don't know if we're going through the weekend. I don't think so. But we'll see. DDO Legend says, I've read people are still finding the quest too easy on Legendary Elite. We had a conversation among the dev team about that today, actually, and that conversation is ongoing. It's possible we may adjust some of the difficulty on Legendary Elite. I would say, though, that the feedback overall is perfectly legitimate, of course, but is moderately limited. It's, you know what, I'm actually going to save it. Never mind. Is moderately limited. We only have a couple of folks who have chimed in so far, so, which is fine, but those particular players are very, very hardcore. So I think that, we have some perspective, and now it's just a matter of finding whether or not we should up the difficulty or whether that it's still going to be, frankly, too difficult for, quote, your average player. But I do think there's a pretty good chance that we will be doing a little bit of tweaking before live on some of the monster stats and kind of difficulty scaling of the quests. We're going to do the optional here.
Underwater rock formations block the path.
Why does the average player have to do Elite, though? That's the problem and has to be changed. You're right. I don't mean to indicate that we're trying to scale Legendary Elite to a less hardcore player. Quite the opposite, in fact. More that two perspectives or a couple of perspectives on the forums of these particularly hardcore players are an important perspective, but we do need to put that perspective in context, which is that some of those players in particular that we know on the forums are so good at the game that there's not the level of challenge that would be required for them to say wow, that's really challenging, would be very high indeed. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is a thing that it exists. But yeah, like I said, we were actually having that conversation about that just before I went on the air here today, as a matter of fact. About what kind of tweaks we might want to get before we go live. When is the div event? I don't think we're going to have one for this final preview on the Monia. It's just not necessary. Folks have what they need. They can preview what they want. They can preview it in a, quote, real environment, which is the intention at this point. So we can start nailing down things like ingredient drop rates, things like that. Well, I also want to make sure if someone is basing the difficulty based on that first preview, it would be worth double checking to make sure that that hasn't changed with the current version that's live, because it may well have. Because I know that we did quite a few tweaks, particularly, say, on the end fight of Part 3, and we did quite a bit of optional work on Part 2, and just overall there was a whole bunch of work that was done, so... I got destroyed on Legendary Normal, someone says. Yeah. Do enhancement spirits count as crafting essences for the purposes of training? No. I think your enhancement spirits should be used prior to the 13th. And if that's just not realistic for you, then maybe out of luck there. The current plan is that Shards of Potential will not be able to be deconstructed before Update 32. That's why we made that announcement. So use those shards now on any remaining Caneth crafting that you want to do under the old system. Otherwise, I would recommend just selling them for plat, trashing it. We're not doing a trade-in for that stuff because we don't want to support two systems. At some point, you just need to say, you know what? We're done. I know it's an inconvenience for some folks, but... But no, they will not be used. There are some things that you could see on the forums in our announcement on it that will not carry over or be tradable. That's one of them, the enhancement spirits. All right. At what level does the extra slot become available for rune arms? My understanding is it's from the start. When I went and deconstructed a rune arm on our internal development server, I believe I just did one of the DDO store rune arms, and it just automatically crafted. I think it would, similar to regular item crafting, provided you have a mark of House Caneth, you should be able to unlock the extra slot when you deconstruct it. Like it should display. If there is a certain minimum level range, maybe I'm just not aware of it yet. I'll have to look into that. But I don't think so. So the answer should be, they all should. Except for maybe, like, what, a min-level 1-1 or something like that, perhaps, but... in general, they should all have the ability. Alright. Do you still have to go to a Trapsmith workshop to do a rune arm reset to craft it? No, you should be able to just put it into the regular item deconstruction device and disjunct it for crafting. Alright, I think I've got the questions up to date there. Talked about our preview, our pages, our bonuses. We're going to be working on a producer's letter probably within the next couple of weeks. That'll outline kind of what we're doing next. That kind of thing. What you can expect through the end of the year. Maybe into early next year. And so that should be coming pretty soon.
All save the second star is fallen. You are now free to pass.
Oh, is that boulder toss in my hotbar? Conjure stone, yeah. I don't actually know why I've got it. I suppose I should give it a try just for the heck of it. I wasn't really worried about it. What happens to binding status when you craft on a rune arm? It should remain unchanged. I mean, as far as I recall, there are no unbound rune arms. So they're all either going to be bound to character or bound to account. If they were bound to character, they would not become less restrictive. They should remain bound to character. And things that you put to, or that you craft on, become bound to account. So that would be the, you know, if it's a bound to account item, then it would remain bound to account. So, rune arms, any bound to account rune arms will remain bound to account. Any bound to character rune arms should remain bound to character. Yeah, might as well get my spell points back. And some are bound to character on equip. Well, my understanding would be that once you craft it on it, it'll go to whatever the more restrictive is. So if you have a bound to character on equip and then craft onto it, then that would become bound to account, I believe.
In my forest, you will die to feed my flowers. No, my friends, be entrusted into me
Eek.
Shall I open the book and know what lay inside?
Back. I mean, there are exceptions in DDO throughout DDO's life of this, but as a general rule of thumb, it should go to whatever the most restrictive crafting status is, or binding status is on something that you do. So if it's, in general, that's the way it should be. It should be bound to account, I believe, in that case. Because you don't have to equip the rune arm at all to craft it. but crafting it would change it to bound to a cat. If that's not the case, well, bonus, I guess. But because otherwise you would just bypass the... You could make basically auctionable crafting rune arms. That doesn't seem like an intended purpose. Gosh darn it. Rune arms act as trinkets in crafting. That is correct. That is the way that they worked under the old Kenneth system too, in terms of what effects you could put on them. You could put on whatever effects you can create. Uh-oh. No! No!
You have no idea how much power you've summoned.
I don't know if Forpal is not working on pet collars. I don't know. It should work, I would think. So that might be a bug if it doesn't. But I could be wrong. Thimble's basically mentioning that at some point we took away a humming noise that of rune arms. I think that may have been a quality of life change. Because it was kind of... perhaps a little bit on the annoying side to some, to have it constantly going off like that. So I think that may be working as intended. Yeah, I know, kind of a lot of deaths, but I'm only level 15, so... Let's see. I already have the Swailing Blade. I just got that. Should I go? Corruption of Nature. Yeah, it's a bounded character on equip. I suppose I could save it and figure out what it's going to do. Alright. Good enough. Could always use a Corruption of Nature. Will we be able to deconstruct items already deconstructed for crafting? I don't know. At the very least, you should be able to disjunct it so that it'll rekey it for crafting on the new Kenneth crafting. But can you deconstruct it back into essences? I'm not sure. Hang on to that. You never know. Anyone have a preference as to what maybe we run next? Otherwise, I would say let's do... I did that not too long ago. Why don't we do search and rescue here, actually? Is it possible that you could request for scepters to only generate caster effects? Okay, so what you're talking about here is there's... In Update 32, we've split out caster and martial effects. You know, one of the things that we've been hearing a lot from folks is... We're just going to tear through this because it's a long one. We'll do it on normal. So they're going to be split. So you're no longer going to get the prevalence of, quote, caster items and randomly generated weapons. We're also adding scepters back into the random loot tables with Update 32. Those scepters, by default, are going to skew toward caster weapons rather than martial. I think there is still a rare chance for them to remain, or to appear, rather, regardless. But in general, scepters are going to be caster items because not many melee people use casters. Because why would you? So that's the thing. And so the question of to request it to only generate caster effects is there are a few builds out there. And Steel Star addressed this on the forums following some of those players getting in touch with us, that there are people who like that mix. And so by removing that as a possibility to the game, we're actually decreasing their experience because they want it to appear. Now, most people don't, but some do, right? And that's something that we run into in DDO, you know, not all uncommonly. So what we're going to do is still have it be a rare effect rather than an only effect. Although in practice, it's going to be a mostly scepters on caster stuff. Any sense of changes to crafting recipe ingredient amounts after all the feedback? No. We're actually pretty happy with the rate of things. So the intention is to go forward with what we have.
You hear the sound of stone grinding against stone.
At least based on the current Lamania preview. There may have been some shifting around from that very first preview. I'm not actually quite sure what all the numbers were. It's common for them to change fairly regularly in this stage of development. But in general, we're pretty happy with the way things are. And we've seen anecdotally, you know, from players who have been utilizing Lamania, reaching out to us saying, you know what, I've already got several hundred purified Eberron Dragon shards just from Lamania. So we're doing pretty good there. Now there is that, if you haven't seen it yet, we did do a forum thread last week where we talked about how the collectibles are going to drop under the new system for Update 32. So if perhaps you're basing your ingredient acquisition costs on the current live game, it would be worth checking that out just to make sure that you understand where the changes are taking place. I need a healer, that's what I need.
A gaunt form can be seen at the far end of this large hall, resting against a massive throne. Disturbed by your trespass, the ancient mummy stirs to life.
Let me see. Alright, I think I'm actually caught up then. Caught up on chat.
Leiron coughs out a quick command, and several undead rise up out of the ground.
Alright, so there we go. Looks like we're caught up on stuff.
As Leiron dies, you notice a flash of light from the throne in the dais.
Why would you want a caster color? I don't know. At the moment, you probably don't, right? But you never know what the future might bring. So, you can make it available as an option for those who want it, basically. But you'd have to deliberately make it. Let's mainline the quest first, and then we can go back and do the optional if there's time. Alright.
An injured adventurer sits in the hall atop a small pile of loose stones. Around him lie the shattered bones of what used to be the undead. A lone shader guy stands quietly in the shadows of this alcove.
Yeah, I know, I'm kind of being an aggro magnet here. I'm actually not... Well, you know, I'm as good as I am at the game. But I actually have not played a lot of casters, so some of this is pretty unfamiliar to me. I'm kind of trying to find my style when it comes to casters. Your style is as a soul stone. Yeah. You're not wrong. So I was working on that new update 32 item guide, and I was looking at the new update 32 craftable items. So just to reiterate for those who maybe don't know, there's going to be an item that drops in each of the 3 new update 32 quests, and that item can go in one of 2 slots. It also can be upgraded through the quest. You'll be picking up sort of, you know, widgets, collectible ingredients that you can then upgrade to add various effects. And in the guide that I'm going to be publishing, you can see the entire list of effects that you can craft onto the items and all that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. We also have some new looks coming. There's 2 or 3 new armors, a new docent. We have a new quarterstaff. We've got a nice looking new helmet that has a look that is unusual in DDO. We've not had it look quite like this before. It's a really nice kind of angular over-the-head helmet. It's pretty cool. We also have kind of a gladiator-style robe, kind of a bare-chested sort of thing that's finally going to be coming to DDO. That's something that we've had the community, you know, bring up occasionally, that we've never really had the sort of, you know, Conan the Barbarian-style, big-chested, sort of bare-chested gladiator thing. And now we do. The Slaver's Rags is what they're called, and they're going to be coming in Update 32, and you'll be able to see a pic of them. Well, you can see them right now on Lamania, but assuming you're not on Lamania, you can see a pic when that guide goes live next week. It's pretty cool. We have some new looks coming. Not bare-chested females. We're not that kind of game. They are still gladiator outfits, but they've got, like, kind of some pauldrons and things over the chest area.
Goes up from a hole in the rock.
Would anyone know if the Caneth crafting currently on Lamania is in the final stage? Did they ever add clicky effects and non-scaling effects for crafting? Yes on the non-scaling effects, no on clicky effects. And is it in the final stage? No, but it's close. We still have a little bit more work that we're going to be doing on Caneth crafting. There's a little bit of polish yet. We still have a few bugs to clear up. A few little pieces of functionality. I think No Worries talks a little bit about that on the Lamania forums. Maybe it was Kokomajobo. About a few things that still have to be put in yet, but it's a lot closer than it was last time it was on Lamania. You know, it's maybe 200% more developed than it was during that first Lamania preview.
An exceptionally large kobold blocks the passage. Do not bother, mister. Leave this last warning. Glowing pools of searing lava dot this massive chamber. Yet the thing that draws your eye is the resting form of an ancient red dragon. A faint whimpering.
Why is there not a potion scroll vendor in Evening Star yet?
It sounds human.
I don't
The
know.
dragon's disgust is evident.
I could have sworn there was one. You people. What's up with that? Really? Really?
Bodies hung along the entrance. Make it clear I don't want visitors.
Will there still be the different rune stones in the new Caneth crafting, like flash and stun ones? Yes. Yes.
The slightest bit of respect.
They are there, along with ammo. It's like you can build bolts, bane weapons, things, or ammunition, things like that.
We will end this travesty quickly. For your own sake.
Ooh, the ice is working.
Dragon
Okay.
attacks with a roar. The cries of angry kobolds filled the lair as the creatures rushed to protect their master. With the dragon dead, the kobolds' cries of anger turned to whimpers of fear, and then silence. The wizard chained to the back wall of the lair beckons to you.
Yes, no new rune stones, but all the existing ones are there. And, you know, if we see in the new Caneth crafting system a real demand for these rune stones, we could do something. It looks like we've got time for the optional, huh? Why don't we do the optional? We got 20 minutes.
You successfully rescued Popkin's missing party.
The DCs and the runestones, yeah, they're not overly boosted. I have seen some people make some pretty good use out of them, particularly, let's say, in the heroic level range. I know that they've got some real value there. So I am error. Oh, that's right. You can boost them now by wearing a disable device item. That's right. Carbon G says we should kill off the old guild augment slots and vendors. You know, there are still a few people. I mean, you're right that the number is down significantly from what it used to be in terms of people who still use that old system in House K. But there are still some folks who are very passionate about it and would be very upset were we to remove it. So For those few folks who still like to use that old stuff, you kind of just sort of, it doesn't hurt to keep it around. But in general, you're right. Yeah, not a lot of people use that anymore. It's just not what it used to be. Oh, about armors. I've got some good news for you, Zermi. He says, or she, I would love to see some more options for druids. They are pretty limited because they cannot wear steel and stuff. Good news. In Update 32, we are reintroducing hide armor to randomly generated loot. So you'll be able to find hide armor in chests and that would be suitable for druidic use. And they're going to have the same stats as scale mail. So whatever the scale mail stats are, will be, as it scales up and such, will be the same for hide armor. The big difference, of course, being hide armor is made of hide and not metal, so that druids can use it. So, that's a thing. Will we ever be implementing the defunct guild commands and the help command? Probably not. Probably not. If we were to do, reintroduce some kind of more complex guild system like what we had back in the day, which never really worked, which is why it got removed, I'd say the odds are good that we would maybe start from scratch rather than utilize that old system that never really worked right. So yeah, I suppose we could probably just remove that text. But okay. Can we upgrade old Caneth challenge items to the new versions using a Stone of Change, or is the update automatic? I'm going to have to check into that. I know I have not heard of us doing a new recipe to convert old Caneth challenge items to new Caneth challenge items. So it may be that you would just need to reacquire them, but it may also be that they would change. I will have to look into that, and I'll get back to you, hopefully next week. Evening Star Challenge stuff did not get updated. It's a different sort of system, right? So it's not craftable. How about wooden docents for Warforged Druids? That's an interesting idea. I'll have to pass that along, see what we can get. Can we get spell touched on Evening Star random loot gent weapons? Now I know we do have some wooden shields already that are usable for druids. But if we could take a look into whether we need to do more. Polar Ray is a good spell. Alright. Yeah, actually, you know, we have a challenge ingredient boost weekend happening again. I saw it on... I just saw our possible kind of proposed calendar. And I saw another challenge boost in the works. So you should be pretty happy. And yeah, I think we're going to see, you know, both that and, say, crafting boosts and things like that are going to make a bit of a comeback. At least short term, you know, as people sort of re-up their numbers and what have you. Ah, I'm going to die. I need to get some potions. Oh, actually, that won't hurt. The mystical dried fish and that sort of thing have got... They're being used in some non-scaling effect recipes, is my understanding. So hang on to them. And if there are some that are not currently being used, then perhaps they would be something that we could look at for usage in the future. I need to get some potions. For I have none. Since we don't have a cleric. Can the collectible costs on the Mania be reduced to 1? Probably. Probably. I can ask about that. It would just involve some catalog work. Well, not catalog. Well, yeah, catalog. I guess what I mean by catalog is DDO store work on the Mania. It just didn't get done. Oh no! Yeah, I like this quest a lot too. I've been farming it quite a... Not so much farming it, but I've been running it quite a bit as well. I really want that armor on Atlantis. No luck yet, but... We have a request to lower the cost of name change deeds. That makes sense. I don't know, I can pass along the suggestion. Was the Mania wiped for this third look-see? Yes. Reason for that is, like I said, we're at the point where we want to start getting a better sense of acquisition rates and things like that. And the way to do that was to start people over. We also had some requests for people who wanted to, now that they knew what they needed, so to speak, from the first Lamania preview, they wanted to bring in fresh characters. So they wanted to re-bring over their characters, which requires on our end a character name wipe. So that's why we did that for yesterday's reopening of Lamania. Is Slavers going to be 595 turbine points like it is on the money? Is the price going to change? Price could always change. We don't really formally say, yes, I promise you, according to FCTC guidelines, that it will be the price you see on the money. There's some sensitivity about that. So, but that is, I think, the range that we're going for. So it should be somewhere around that price, I would think. Bear hair dye? No, I know. It would be a great idea. But so far, we do not yet have bear hair dye. Oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. Yes, rainbow wolves, rainbow bears. I agree, we need all these things. We also need a bear on a bicycle.
A group of drow performing some sort of a ritual on the far side of this chamber.
Bear style. No, it's so good. It writes itself. Come on. You know? Oh my gosh. I'm out of some kind of component. I can't do... No wall of fire for you. Okay, fine. I didn't want to cast it anyway. Get off my back, Slod.
Fist-sized gem falls from the hand of the lead ritualist and shatters on the stone floor.
They want a bear with a mullet. Yeah. So next week is going to be our Update 32 live stream preview and Q&A. A week after that, I'm going to Galanda. And because the update should be out by then, presumably we'll run the new stuff on Galanda. Probably on the heroic side. I don't believe I've got a upper epic level character on G-Land, so gonna have to run the heroic version, so that should be around level 8. So if you have a level 8 to 10-ish character, maybe even vet status 2, yeah, vet status 2 would work, we'll go and we'll run against the Slave Lords. We'll get started on that in 2 weeks. Well, like I say, next week will be our live stream preview, spoiler light. We will have room for your time for your Q&A as well. look at Caneth crafting against the slave lords and any of the other stuff that you guys want to take a look at.
The High Priestess stares down from her dais with contempt in her eyes. Surface dwellers, they shall not profane my presence. Guards, clean up this.
Oh my gosh. No. I'm gonna die before I even know where I have my bearings. Really? Is there no one to attack? No.
The High Priestess barks a word of command. A monstrous dragon appears in the room, followed by a number of reinforcements.
Pretty tightly packed corner here. Kind of challenging.
With the death of the High Priestess, this drow outpost will no longer be able to raid the surface.
All right. Running with the bears instead of running with the devils. I don't think I've got a spare stone for you. Could someone else res? No luck. No luck. Alright. Cool. Very good. Finishing out. Alright, that's going to do it with the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDOstream and youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live. Join us on the Twitch channel here. All week long, we've got shows. You can find that list on Twitch. Give us a follow. Subscribe to us on youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons. And join us every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Like I said, next week will be our live stream preview. I will be back on Friday at noon. Thanks very much for joining me this week. I will get you guys a Turbine Point code in the endgame mail system as a way to say thanks. No code giveaway on live this week. Sorry about that. We'll be back soon for that. Until next week, have fun.